Hi, and welcome to Discovering DataFlex with me, Johan Brodfeld. Today, we're going to take a peek inside the data dictionary because there are a lot of things going on inside that we actually have access to. For instance, when the data dictionary is trying to delete or update or back out, whatever that means. And we're going to take a look at how those are called and when those are called and in which order. I have made a video previously about this, and I think you can find it in some pop-up here. Otherwise, it'll be in the description below. So let's have a look. What I'm going to start out is looking in the documentation, and there we have something called a base data set. And here you can find some of these methods we're going to look at, among them creating, deleting, and backout. And you also have update, but you also have save main file and delete main file and clear main file. So what are these doing? Well, I'm not going to read the documentation for you because it is here, so you can read all the details on how they work. I'm just going to show a nice way to view them. If you want to check these out, they are also available in the code. So you can go into the base dataset class and you will find them here. And if we look for backout, for instance, you can see they have this method type event that indicates that these are events that can be called. They don't do anything, but since you can augment them both in your data dictionary and in your view, so you can do different things in different places. So if you have something generic that always should be there, you do it in the data dictionary. And if you want something for a specific view, then you do it in that particular view. And when you do that, you should remember to always do a forward send the procedure so that it gets called all the places it should get called. So it's a good practice to always have the forward send. What I've done in this setup here is I've created a logging data dictionary, which simply is a single class based on the data dict package. And that is actually the same as the data dict, which has the data dictionary. So when you go in, for instance, in location data dictionary, it says it is a data dictionary. And now I've changed it to logging data dict, which is my own data dictionary. And what is this logging data dictionary doing? Well, I added all of these methods here, and I added a send write file, which is my own little method from the utility package here. And then I add it to the DD logging text, and I set the timestamp, and then I just write what procedure it is, and also this name of self, so that I can see what object is actually calling this method, because I'm adding it both to the location and to the item data dictionary. So I'm adding the same class here. So every time a procedure like this field's default value is called, I forward send the field defaults, and that will call our logging data dictionary set field defaults, which will print this string to our DD logging file. And I also added in the location, we have this delete where we set move one and save record. I don't want to forward send because then it's going to delete it, and that's going to kind of destroy our purpose of this fix that we did. So I added a separate write line for this one, but it just does the same with self. And in the item data dictionary, I also use update and backout. So I made sure I had the forward send on both of those so that we get the printed values. Now I'm going to pick a view, and in this view, we actually did some stuff to the data dictionary. So it's quite clean view and we can get a good picture of what's going on here. So I'm going to add a test data dictionary. And then I'm just going to call the data dictionary with a request save. Now it has created the item for us, but it also has added an empty location. And now we can change this. So let's just call it test data dict, and then we save it again. So now we've made an update, and then we're just going to delete it, and I can do that by just clicking delete here. Yes, delete the post. So now we've done a create, update, and delete. So let's see how that looks in our log. So here you can see the create data entry. And first of all, it clears the main file of the default location, because the default location is also part of this data dictionary structure. And then it calls this on new current record, which it does clear main file and on new current record for location and item as well. So this is just in this order. It's clearing the data in the data dictionary, making sure that everything is clean before we start. Then it sets the default values of the item if we have any default values. So in this field defaults, you can actually go in and set a default value if you like. Then it constrains the location and it calls constraint on item to make sure that you're actually allowed to see what is on screen right now. Then it moves on for the save. Now it does a validate save of the OItem data dictionary. Then it does a reset file modes for lock. And it does that on all of those. So what that does is locks the tables so that no one else is playing around with them. And because now we're going into the updating procedure where we work with the data in the database, and you don't want someone else going in and changing something in the database. And that is also very important to not have like a message box or an infinite loop or something in any of these procedures, because that can cause a havoc for the entire application if you all of a sudden stop the execution while the database is locked, because then no one else can do anything. So whatever goes on in here have to go fast. So then we clear main file again. And now we start by calling the creating. So creating is called to kind of initialize a new object. And then update is called. An update is where you're adding something. In this case, you call update on OItem first, and then update on OLocation. And creating was called on location first, and then on OItem. And the order is kind of important, because if you have like a long hierarchy of objects that relate to each other, you want to do these things in the right order, so that if you create a new location, then you want to make sure that the item knows what location was created. So you have the information. If you change something in creating location, you can access it in creating item, for instance. And then you update the item. And then after that, you update the location, because in this case, you want to be able to see if there's some particular value in the item that you want to save in the location or something like that. So after that, we get this validate save again, validating that the data in the location and item is correct. Then calling on new current record, because we do that all the time. Either we created one or cleared one, or something is changing to record. This one is called, so you can use that as a hook for anything when a change is made to a data dictionary. Then attach main file is called on location. So we're making sure that we have the main file, and then save main file of location. Attach main file, it's relating the parent data to the current table to make sure that everything is consistent and linked properly. And then save main file is called because then you do an on save record and the record is saved for location. And then we get an on new current record again. And then we do attach main file on O item. We save it, and then we call on save record and on new current record. And then we have saved our item, we have saved our location. Now we want to do an update. What happens then? Well, we go through more or less the same clear main file. We clear them. We've set the defaults of the item. We constrain as we did before. Then we find. So on pre-find is called. And then we do a relate main file on all of these item location and default location, current record on post find. And then we go into the validate save again, the same procedure as you do a create. But there's a difference here, because when we update, we start out not by creating, but we're backing out of the location and item in that order. First, backing out of the location, and then backing out of the item, and then going the other way back by updating the item and then updating the location. So that is why we, in the data dictionary here, on the backout, count down, remove the item counter from the location as we back out. And then when we update, we move that item back in again. So when we create, it's calling the procedure creating and then the update. So that's why it's only adding one. And when we update, we do back out. So we remove it and then we update. So we add it again. And this is actually a really good way to maintain totals or sums as you delete and add data back and forth and save data, because then you can have different structures and you are dynamically maintaining the data, and you don't have to kind of recalculate the total every time, because you're just doing what you have to do when you remove one item and when you're adding it again. Could be when you're adding it, it has a different value. So you can remove a value of 2, and then when you add it after some process, it has changed to 5. So you add 5 instead. But this is the idea behind the create, update, and as you will see, delete. So in the delete, you do a backout where you remove the item and then you call the delete. So update is never called in that case. So let's go back in and continue with the updates. So you have the validate save of location and then validate save of item on your current record. And then we go down for the save attach main file. save main file on save record. First on location, then on item. And there you have the updates of data. And now finally for the delete. I'm not really sure, but it seems to be doing the same thing multiple times here. Could be that I clicked twice or something. I'm not sure if this actually should be here. But I got it somehow. So yeah, more or less the same, finding the record, this time on constrain and pre-find and post-find. So we're finding the record we want to delete, making sure that the data in our data dictionary is consistent with the data in the database. Reset file modes for lock when we are certain that we got the latest data from the database and we know we're up to date. We lock the table, and in this case, these tables are included in our data dictionary structure. We will look at that in a minute. And then we relate the files, in this case, item and location, and clear the main file, validate delete, so that we are clear for deleting. Then we're deleting the item, and we do not delete the location. So after we delete, we should actually have a location left in the database. And let's have a look at that in a minute as well. Then we do the backout, and then we do a backup of item, and we didn't delete the location, so we actually do an update of the location again, because the location is not depending on the item. The item is pointing up to the location, so we keep the location. And then we do a save main file, save record on location, and on the item, we do a delete main file. So now this is deleted, and then we try to refine the data for the different buffers. So we do a pre-find and clear main file, find field defaults, clear main file, and on post find. There you have those, and I encourage you to go in, and when you have these methods, just do like a printout to a file or something, so that you see in which order they are called, because it's really good to know how they are called so that you understand how they work. So we go into the view of the buffers. Here is our data entry. So this is where we enter the value. You can see that this is the data dictionary. Here we have the default location, we have the location and the item. And since the item is relating to both the default location and the location, that is why the database structure calls these update, deletes, and create functions for those data dictionaries as well. I hope that was more clarifying than confusing, and it's a little bit abstract, but I hope you enjoyed it anyway. And I'll see you next time for some more deep dive into data dictionary mystery. Bye-bye.